following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the AEW Dynamite review here on the WZWA Network. It is great to be with you all once again here for the Grand Slam edition at Arthur Ashe Stadium. And I had the pleasure, obviously, today of watching it alongside my very good friend here, Joosey Boy. How are you, bro?
Yeah, not bad, brother. Another busy week. Another day, another dollar. And here we are for another AEW Dynamite review. Big episode tonight or today.
Yep. And to anyone out there wondering why we didn't do a Rampage review, I had to go to my cousin's wedding on Saturday. So just did not have the time to be able to fit that in before me heading out. So we will probably review. Joosey.
Like we obviously we're planning on reviewing the Grand Slam edition, but I gotta say this: Rampage overall, as a show that we review, it's hanging by a thread. Yeah. Like if it had not been for this Grand Slam episode, we may not have reviewed this week's Rampage either, because it's teetering on the line. So this is going to be a deciding episode of whether or not we continue with that in our review rotation or whether we phase out Rampage in favor of a different show.
I know we've had some requests from some people for us to cover NXT 2.0. I would like to review NWA Power, but we'll see how it goes, because looking at what last week's Rampage was like, just from some of the YouTube videos I checked out, it didn't seem like that bad of a show in comparison to the previous couple of weeks where we walked away from it just feeling like it was a waste of our time. So we'll see how it goes this weekend, and that will, play a part in where we go from here. But look, Dynamite, we will still be covering that as we have been over the last 8 to 9 weeks. Anyway, bro, Arthur Ashe Stadium, this is a pretty big one for AEW. When we first kind of start the program, what were your thoughts seeing, that they actually managed to, pack it out?
Yeah, I mean, good for them. It's the largest crowd so far for an AEW show. I suspect it's not going to remain that way for very long. AEW is on something of a hot streak at the moment in terms of fan interest. Yeah, I thought that, it looked good. It looked major league, obviously. You got this big, huge arena, 20,000 people. The set looked good. I like that it's a different set from the one that we're used to. That's automatically a point for AEW over WWE, because WWE continues for the last 10 or 15 years now with this issue with their sets being so homogenized and too similar. As we know, and again, I don't want to get into a tangent about WWE. It's a Dynamite review, but I'll mention it here. As we know, WWE, when they first reintroduced the brand split in 2016, they differentiated the sets somewhat, went back to having red and blue ropes on Raw and SmackDown respectively, stuff like that. So they looked a little better. 2019, when SmackDown went to Fox and Raw was going to be on USA, both shows introduced new sets at that time, which looked distinctly different. The SmackDown set in particular with those things on the entranceway coming down, it looked quite good. The Raw had that Titantron that kind of goes from the ramp into the Titantron all in one piece. And, sets, it may seem like I'm harping on something irrelevant here, but I'm not. The actual look and feel of physically, of inside the show, the visual presentation can make a world of difference to the overall perception of a wrestling show. That needs to be pointed out. Credit to AEW for, making the effort set design wise to kind of convey that this was a big deal for the company.
Yeah, I agree, bro. And I've written that in my notes later on, that the video screen on the entranceway just didn't come across obnoxious like WWE, where they seem to have a video screen on everything. I'm just waiting for the steel steps and for the barrier to have video screens all over it as well. So and to harp again just a little bit on sets, I remember back in the day, man, like WCW Halloween Havoc, fucking WWF Fully Loaded, where it looked at kind of like, there was kind of like broken down cars or whatever. And then you have, Backlash with the big swinging things. Like every set, every pay-per-view, you were looking forward to seeing what they had done this time. So, Armageddon, it looked like it was post-apocalyptic kind of thing. So I think it's important.
Yeah, I mean, and like my final, thought on the whole issue of production design and sets in wrestling is that as a child, back when they still had video and DVD stores, I believe that young wrestling fans, children, identify the shows by how they look visually and whether they're sucked into the atmosphere when that first shot of the arena fades into view. It can make the difference. Like the set, the logo, the design of the show, how this is being put across visually to the audience is just as important as any of the booking aspects of the show.
Absolutely, bro. We were chuffed with how the set looked. We come right out of the gate. We were surprised by this, but it seems to be a running theme where they start off the show with what probably should have been the main event. Non-title match, the dream match between Kenny Omega and American Dragon Bryan Danielson. I'm going to let you take this one away, bro. It went to a time limit draw, 30 minutes. What did you think?
Well, first off, my immediate first thoughts was, it's a little strange that they're, opening with it, but, I'll kind of touch on that a little bit before I get to the actual match. Opening it, I understand that they're kind of going, all right, when we open this show, we want a big number. We want to, convey that people get excited to sit down and watch this show. So we're putting this big match on first. We're giving it lots of time, and this is going to be a hot way to open the show. I understand that logic, but at the same time, as you said before watching, it kind of puts a risk that the rest of the card and the rest of the show will be a nowhere to go but down proposition. And that's not any fault of any of the people performing. It's just the nature of the beast when you have to follow such an important and such a big fight type of wrestling match. Daniel Bryan looked great. He hasn't missed a step in the last 5 months since he's had a match. He looked great. I loved the fact that this was a slow burn. It was a marathon, not a sprint. Kenny Omega deserves credit through this. He didn't do anything fucking goofy or stupid. He stayed serious. He sold the entire time. This is the kind of Kenny Omega I want to see more of as champion of this major promotion. They built this thing up. It started getting really physical towards the end. A couple of things that I remember, like a buckle bomb where Omega basically threw Daniel Bryan very haphazardly into the top rope, back first with a power bomb. Quite brutal. There was a running V-trigger on the entranceway, and Daniel Bryan slid down the glass entrance ramp, and that was also quite a nice visual. This match here was excellent. I don't see this getting any less than probably 4.5 stars from Mr. Meltzer. I really enjoyed this match. I felt like slowing it down the way that they did was exactly what is needed in this company. And I am going to give this match an A+.
Excellent, bro.
This
excellent.
is the standard.
Yeah, no, it was good. The slow build was nice, dude. And you had mentioned earlier that you saw a comment from a fan going on about why it was so slow. Can you please enlighten us on what that was?
Yeah, so before I'd actually seen the show, I saw somebody commenting on a fan group on Facebook. And obviously they were referring to the Omega Bryan Danielson match, and it just said, why is it so slow? Implying that he felt like the match wasn't action-packed enough and there wasn't enough going on. A lot of people disagreed with that. It is a ridiculous question to ask. By even asking the question, you show your, naivety as a wrestling fan. You show that you're not really a very knowledgeable, experienced fan. A match like this that is between two of the biggest names in the industry, two of the best workers in the industry from an in-ring physical standpoint. It's not the kind of match that they need to rush out there and bust out every single high spot they've ever done in their careers. If this was a real fight, and that's what you and I always go back to is realism, you wouldn't just go in there against this other professional athlete that's been working for a rival league all this time and just assume that you're going to beat the crap out of him. You would take your time to feel them out, get a feel for what they're doing, try to get a feel for what their game plan is, that.
Just keep talking, bro.
Yeah, and as we've alluded to before, that chess match, that idea of a chess match, the opponent makes a move, his opponent counters that move, counter move. This went back and forth, in a way that I felt was really satisfying. It was paced really well. And, basically the only negative about it was when Snap, Crackle, and Pop ran out towards the end, but I'll let you cover that.
Yeah, sure, bro. Yeah, no, this match that came across, it was an all-out war between these two, and I think they kind of preemptively let us know that it was going to hit that time limit because Justin Roberts said 1 minute remaining, and I get that. That's fine. That's not offensive, but you maybe okay. That at the same time could be like, oh, maybe it's going to come down to the wire and he'll make him tap in the last few seconds of the match. But yeah, I love that it was a war. It was like as the match was wearing on, Daniel Bryan was getting more and more welts on the chest and welts on his face and bruising, and so this was very hard hitting, strong style, and a great little contest between these two. And just to allude to what that fan was saying, like, how long have you been watching wrestling for, dude? Like, do you not understand what a slow build is and how it, kind of kicked into high gear in the last 10 minutes of the match with a lot of huge bumps and huge moments? You got a fucking dragon suplex off the top rope. You've got all of these kind of big time maneuvers taking place. That's how you do it,
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, even if you did eventually end up liking the match, even if this fan eventually did change their tune as the match went on, it's still just an ignorant thing to write that post. Give the guys in the ring a chance to tell a story. Like, I mean, Jesus.
It can only be good for Kenny Omega to be working with Christian. Brian Danielson.
These are the same kind of fans that would watch a Lou Thesz match and think that it was shit and wonder why Lou Thesz was the top wrestler in the industry at that time, instead of looking at it and going, wow, it's very different, but look at the technique of these guys, look at their footwork, look at their mastery of the crowd, and a true wrestling fan appreciates all styles and appreciates the right psychology being applied to the appropriate context of what's happening within the wrestling show.
Yeah. So yes, it's a time limit draw. I'm guessing they're going to go to a rematch at Full Gear, which will probably go close to 60 minutes. Just assuming, why do a time limit draw if you're not going to keep that as a thing going forward to fall back on. It's like, I assume this is what it's going to be like. It's almost, they're going to sell this as, gosh, it's going to take a hell of a lot for one of them to finally beat the other. I'm excited to see a rematch between the two. Young Bucks and Adam Cole come out at the end, triple super kick on Bryan Danielson. Not sure if it was necessary, but I get it. And Christian and the Jurassic Express make the save.
Yep.
No sign of the Elite Hunter, Kazarian. So I don't know.
There is. I don't want to, because I know I'm always the one saying let's keep concise, but that is one last point that I need to tack onto the end here, and then I promise, guys, we'll move forward. But I also felt like it was a mistake to have Adam Cole be one of the members of the Elite that ran down after this match. It was the kind of situation where it should have been Adam Cole on his own running down, which would have then established that he's interested in Daniel Bryan as an opponent in the future, or he shouldn't have been there. By having him run down with the Young Bucks, all in a group, it's already made Adam Cole just sink into the background and become just another person on the roster. A big recent acquisition like that that's already made a big name for themselves in another promotion deserves to have their own spotlight for whatever they're doing on the show, and it should stand out from the what the Elite is doing as an overall group. I'm not saying that you can never use him in that way, but certainly it's too early for that. They've already gone ahead after 2 or 3 weeks, and he's just being treated like he's just another guy, just another member of the Elite. So that's all I wanted to say on that. I hope they don't continue doing that with Adam Cole in the future.
Yeah, I'm guessing they must have thought like, well, we need to add a little bit of something in here for a bit of build to this multi-man, 6-man tag this Saturday for the special Rampage episode. But man, I looked at that card. Looks like there's a lot of multi-man matches. But we'll worry about that on Saturday. Finally, after this, I guess the best way to go about things would be to bring out CM Punk for his promo time. This CM Punk's interview 48 hours before his first TV match in 7 years. It's like we're gonna make a big deal and celebrate every little minor thing that happens with Punk. I kind of feel like this.
It's not a bad way to pop a rating, though, don't you think?
I just don't think that that needs to be what the deal's about. It should just be like Punk's coming out to talk. I don't know if
we're gonna hear
his
from
first
CM
TV
Punk.
match in 7 years. Like it just, he's already had his first match back. Like let's stop celebrating every minor thing that takes place in his life at this point. But anyway, great promo. I saw the fire in his eyes, the fire in what he had to say. This was a promo that I really liked more than all the love-in stuff from the last few weeks, which was still good, but interesting verbiage. I'm happy to see him back. And what do you think, bro? Do you think Team Taz should have interrupted this and there should have been some more back and forth, or are you happy with how it went?
Well, I'll answer that question first. Yes, I do think there should have been some interruption, some response from Team Taz. But I tend to think of imagine if you're on the on-ramp about to merge onto the freeway, and you kind of have to slow down and kind of maneuver your way in when you merge on there. But once you're on the freeway, you put that pedal to the metal and you're off to the races. I feel like as of this episode of Dynamite, CM Punk is now on the highway. He's rolling now. The previous few weeks, he's kind of still on that on-ramp, trying to feel his way on there, get himself situated. He's arrived at that point now. I'm glad that we're going to start seeing him be like the CM Punk who was WWE champion for 400 and some odd days. I liked the salt and pepper beard and the bit of the grizzled old veteran look that Punk has. Edge rocks a similar thing. It works for him too. I like the idea of having these older kind of journeyman guys still being in there, and I think that look works for Punk. He looks a little bit more I don't want to use the word grizzled again, but traveled, I guess. He's a little bit wiser and a little bit older, and that comes across with the salt and pepper. I think it works for him for a character standpoint. That's why I mention it. Promo itself, good fire, really articulate, put across everything that needed to be put across in a way that even casual fans would be able to understand immediately, which is always what you want to do with a promo like this, because the goal is to get more eyeballs on the product. I thought this was really well done by Punk. I do wish that there had been some sort of response from Team Taz, especially from Taz himself. I'd like to see those two spar again at some point. But, overall, I liked it. I'm giving it a B-. Yeah,
I wouldn't have minded a little bit of heat on Team Taz before the inevitable on Saturday where Punk probably beats Powerhouse Hobbs. I think
probably in about 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but you know, them try and trick him again, and somehow maybe Taz tries to sneak up on him and lock in a Taz mission. I don't know.
Mhm.
But like I'd like to see Taz get more physical.
I think that we will see more from Taz after this match, because I think that Punk's going to work with some, with the other Team Taz guys. Probably.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. Moving forward, bro, MJF versus Brian Pillman Jr. Take it away.
Yeah. So, shout out to MJF's parents for the tweet they put out with their sign that said MJF is our son and we hate him too. Really nice. I always love that when, I'm seeing supportive parents and stuff. MJF responded by tweeting "fuck off, mom," which was hilarious. That was really nicely done. What a smarmy pick. This match overall turned out quite good. I'll say that at the outset because I don't have too much to say in terms of breaking it down. I probably will give this a C-. My big problem with this match was that Pillman Jr. did not look aggressive enough. I've been saying this since this thing began now. MJF has at this point said things about Brian Pillman Jr. and his family that would make an average person want to kill whoever said those comments about their family. And I don't really think that Julia Hart needed to go out there with Brian Pillman Jr., even though she's gorgeous. And I personally felt like there needed to be more fire in Pillman Jr.'s belly. But other than that, serviceable little match.
Yeah, I like that it was given a good amount of time. I really enjoyed the match. I had a thought about Wardlow. I think he better be with MJF for at least 3 years, like at least another 3 years. I think they really need to keep them together for quite some time. And don't split them up within the next year or anything like they kind of hint every now and then because I feel like Wardlow will just get lost in the shuffle. They've already got a bunch of kind of big guys that are, like a Brian Cage, like a Lance Archer that don't really get a lot of, haven't had a lot of angles as of recent. Yes, I know Lance has got this thing going on with Moxley, but yeah, I just hope that they kind of keep that. I hope they keep the Pinnacle together for quite some time, because I'm looking forward to the point where that's the number one heel stable that's focused on through the shows rather than the Elite, which I'm sure is going to stick around for quite some time. I loved the spots on the outside. I kind of disagree with you on Julia. I liked the interaction between her and MJF because it gets over how much of a pig he is as a character. And the finish was great. Good win for MJF. He had to win this one. Obviously, a lot of people out there still feel like he should have beaten Jericho in that final match, but it is what it is. Okay, so big win for MJF. Moving forward, Mr. Marvez is backstage with Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. Nice and quick, very good. They're just hyping that shit for Saturday. Thoughts, bro?
Yeah, I'd give this an A-. It was exactly what it needed to be.
Yep. Okay. The lights go out. It's Malakai Black time, baby. Yeah. I'm huge. I'm huge on Malakai right now.
Yeah. He's becoming a favorite of mine in the business.
Yeah, he's a perfect example of if WWE let their talent have more of a say in their character and what they're doing. I have a feeling like he's got his fingerprints all over this, and this was what he always wanted to do. And now it's like this is becoming extremely interesting from my point of view. I'll get through the rest of my notes here. It was a good match. I didn't know who was going to win. I thought maybe Cody was going to have his big triumphant moment again, but good on AEW for not going that route. I found Cody's entrance to be laughable. I got excited when the crowd started booing him because, I've been feeling it since Malakai showed up that the fans are getting behind him and they're kind of getting a little bit sick of Cody. It's kind of like someone is that kind of potato soup baby face for so long, eventually, like Roman Reigns, like a John Cena, you get sick and tired of the good guy always, doing good and, thinking that they're going to be beloved by the fans at all times. I've been so tired of Cody in this role for such a long time now because I see through his shit. I see that most of his angles that he's heavily involved in, a lot of it doesn't make any sense, and he does all this nonsensical shit. So I'm glad that the fans are starting to clue in on all of this stuff, and that he kind of is the person that might be getting a little bit of go away heat. Finish of the match was fantastic. The Black Mist, I think this is another kind of fault of AEW production. Because when they tried to do that close-up of Cody afterward, there were only like a couple of drips of black stuff on his face. They really needed like a thicker kind of fluid that really would, be all over his face, as opposed to it kind of like, it almost looked like it had been wiped away by the time they did that close-up. So I think, again, sometimes with AEW, they don't quite hit the mark with things like this. And you can see them alluding to Cody turning heel with what he did to the referee. And this is interesting for me. I was just thinking about this before when I went to the bottle shop. It's almost like with the Malakai Black character, he's like this poisonous thing where if he sinks his fangs into you, it's going to fuck with your head. It's going to change you as a character, as a person, because of all the stress, of all the shit he's putting you through. I think this is a really interesting character, and if they can really keep going down this road with him, where any single person he decides to target, by the time that angle sees its completion, I want that opponent of his to have changed as a person because of all the shit he's put them through. And this is just the first step. And if you keep doing this with him for the next couple of years, he's going to be, without a doubt, one of the top guys in the company. So that's my final point I wanted to say. I'm just so happy that he won the match. But anyway, bro, I know you've got a bit to say, so please take it away.
See, I feel like our two ratings of this match, even though we both feel the same way, it might be a bit different because this looked like a complete double turn to me. Like, I read this as a double turn. We had the debate as Cody was entering. He had the really obnoxious cape that went on forever. He had his wife come out with him, that nobody really likes that. Like, the only person that ever likes when a wrestler's wife comes to the ring with him is the wrestler and the wrestler's wife. That's it. It never works. It didn't even work for Ricky Steamboat, who was way more beloved than Cody is. We debated whether or not Cody has actually been deliberately being as obnoxious and self-congratulatory as possible as a babyface to plant the seeds for a heel run long term. You think he hasn't? You think he actually genuinely thinks that he's over to the degree that he can kind of pull off all this pomp and circumstance? Either way, whether that's true or not, it doesn't really matter.
I reckon he's probably puzzled the fact that, I can't believe. And that's my thought. Just based on what other people have said about it, but keep going.
Either way, it became very clear in this match that the crowd was not feeling Cody. There was a really annoying spot early in the match where Brandy Rhodes went and sat cross-legged opposite Aleister Black and held the rude fingers up and mouthed "fuck you" to him, and he just laughed at it, and then Cody came and attacked him. That was kind of heelish for one, because it was a blatant interference and a distraction. They had already started to plant the seeds for Cody turning heel by the end of this match. At that point, that type of spot is go away heat with me. He should have slapped Brandy across the face or kicked her or done something like that. I'm ready for an army of AEW marks to start posting what a bad bitch she is and stuff like that. It's just as horrible as when Stephanie McMahon was going out there and slapping all these huge wrestlers right in the face and they would do nothing. they'd stand there and take it. I'm not suggesting that male characters need to physically beat female characters up, as in if a female gets in your face, just punch her. But Brandi Rhodes, in the context of this match, did actually get into the ring. She went into the active playing area of this match and, confronted Aleister Black. So at the very least, there should have been some comeuppance from that. Even if Malakai, didn't do anything to her, but the referee ejected her, that would have at least been some kind of comeuppance that would have made sense. Other than that ridiculous spot, this match turned into a very good match. I think Cody has great chemistry with Malakai. There was a lot of great stuff in this match. It's another DJ recommendation that you go and check out this match yourselves, because I can't really do it justice by describing it. Pivotal moment obviously came at the end of the match. The crowd had been booing Cody for quite a lot of this match. Basically, anytime Cody was in control, he was getting booed, which to me was starting to set the seeds of a double turn. By the end of the match, when Cody deliberately elbowed the referee in the face as hard as he could, the crowd at that point had turned on him. It was the kind of boo and hiss that is delivered to a heel, not just a baby face, that pisses the crowd off. He had turned heel at that point. Malakai hit the Black Mist and then the Black Mass kick. It was a very spectacular and very visually scintillating sequence. Malakai wins clean, looks strong, made Cody look like an idiot. In my opinion, Malakai is now a baby face. That is why I read this entire match as a double turn. Some people may disagree with me. That's fine. I'm open to interpretation on how other people might have seen this match, but I believe it was a full-fledged double turn and that Cody is now a heel going forward, and Malakai, if not already, will be a full-fledged babyface going forward. I'm going to give this match a A-. It was another really high-quality match with the exception of the Brandi Rhodes interference.
Yeah, and I'd have to disagree on the Malakai thing. I think that the fans are into him because he's kind of like an anti-hero. But I still think he's going to be going after baby faces, and it's going to be this odd mix of people are still going to be behind him despite the fact he's the despicable heel. I don't think he's going to be acting like a baby face going forward. But you consider like what Austin was like in the late 90s. Like he acted like a heel, but the fans loved it because he was going after, other heels. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but I'm excited to see what happens. What are they going to do if Bray Wyatt does come in? Because Malakai's kind of doing the character that you would have expected Bray Wyatt to have been doing in WWE under that gimmick before the whole Fiend bullshit took place. Can you imagine those two kind of either locking horns or siding side by side with one another? I can't see Bray coming in and doing anything differently than what we've known him as. So we'll see. Guevarra versus Miro, a promo coming up next. They're going to be having a match next week on Dynamite.
I don't care. I don't give a shit. Dud rating.
Yeah. I just think we really need to get back to that Kingston Miro thing that was going on, and that was starting to feel like it was getting hot. Okay. Moving forward. The best tag team in the wrestling business right now, FTR, take on Sting and Darby Allin. DJ, I want you to take this one away.
Oh God, man. I don't even have to get, this is yet another DJ recommendation. So a very good show this week from the wrestling point of view. This match was outstanding. Not only did Sting once again show that he is not just a legend that's going in there and doing some nostalgia spots, he is an active, full-fledged member of this roster, and he is performing as such. He really, as you said earlier on, that you never get tired of watching Sting wrestle. I agree. He's always been so over with me. Even before I'd ever watched a full WCW show, I was already a fan of Sting just from what I'd seen of him. And he really delivered. Darby really delivered. This match was about as perfect an example of a tag team match as you're ever going to get. because it was a little bit more flashy than something that you might see in the 80s. Like a lot of AEW, or modern wrestling fans that really just love this match that they saw have no idea that they just watched a tag team main event from Jim Crockett Promotions or Mid-South Wrestling in the early 80s. That when you hear Jim Cornette ranting and raving about what wrestling used to be, this is the type of match he is referring to when he's talking about tag team wrestling. There was a consistent effort from a psychological standpoint to thread several different little B plots and C plots through this match between the different individuals within the overall four competitors. It felt like FTR had issues with Sting and Darby Allin respectively. It wasn't just like, Darby Allin wants to work with FTR, so him and Sting can have a tag match. This actually felt like there was an issue behind it, even though it's hardly been built at all. FTR were in the NWO themed gear. Tully looked great. This was just an outstanding match. I can't recommend it enough. I am going to do something unprecedented, man. I am going to give this match an A+.
Wow, 2 A+s in one show, bro. Unbelievable. Yes, this show is totally come across like it's pay-per-view. Like this isn't like a standard Dynamite where they got to fit in all like the 10, 12 angles that they've got going on. With
the pacing of this was phenomenal. It's like I don't want to get sidetracked, but the pacing of the entire show was phenomenal. It wasn't filled with all this unnecessary filler crap, that does nothing for anybody. There was no fat to be trimmed off of this show, as they say.
Yeah, it kind of remind me of a Clash of the Champions kind of TV special. It's not like a regular episode of Dynamite. It's called the Grand Slam. It's different. It is coming across like a pay-per-view, well, at least a shorter pay-per-view. And I wrote in my notes, Sting always surprises me. He's, how old is he now? Like he's
63,
62, 63. What the fuck, man? At his age, he's doing such a good job. And I feel like he stole the show. Maybe I'm just got the rose-tinted glasses, but I feel like he stole the show. And just like he did when they had that tag match at whatever pay-per-view it was, it must have been Double or Nothing.
Was that Revolution, was it? Nah.
It was the tag match against the Men of the Year. Yeah, like I was so stoked to see what he was doing there, and still am right now. Anytime he's out there, this is just brilliant. FTR, another thing I want to say is like they are doing such a good job at cutting off the ring and being so desperate to constantly cut off the ring and ensure that, they're acting exactly as a tag team would psychology-wise 100% of the match. So you compare them to the Young Bucks. I'm sorry that I have to keep bringing that up, but the Young Bucks in comparison are it's a joke. It's a joke. FTR are like light years ahead of the Young Bucks as far as a tag team that act like a heel tag team, yet still have legitimacy with everything that they do. Yes, they cheat here and there, but on their best day, they could probably beat a team like this clean. But because they've got Tully at ringside, if things aren't going the way, then they have to go to that well in order to try and win. So I'm just really enjoying any time I see them out there performing, and please get those tag titles off the Lucha Brothers and straight onto FTR. They need those belts. Sting and Darby win the match. Favorite match of the show. I don't care if anyone goes, oh, Kenny and Bryan. No, this was my favorite match of the show. And the finish was so, we could believe that fucking coffin drop onto the ring apron. That was just mental.
Think about your fucking long-term health, dude. Like, I've really sort of, warmed up to Darby over time since we've begun watching this show. Despite his size, there is no denying that he's a special talent. He is possibly a generational talent. He has that it factor, that connection with the crowd. I can see, I can see the girls loving him. You know what I'm saying? I can see all the punk dudes and all the alternative dudes loving him. I can see the skaters and the BMXs and the extreme sports.
The Jackass.
Yep.
When he's in that Jackass movie, that's gonna help him a hell of a lot, man.
So, I feel like we need to take the time to say these things because as we've been saying from the outset, we are prepared to really get into AEW and be huge fans. And so I want to point out when people improve and when things have gone up to another level within this company. And Darby Allin, especially but now that he's got Sting by his side, and especially after that CM Punk match, is absolutely one of the future best stars in the industry. Like if the company plays their cards right, we could be looking at MJF versus Darby Allin for the AEW World Title being one of the biggest possible matches, in the next 5 or 6 years, if they play their cards right. So this was phenomenal. But dude, think about your physical health though. You will eventually turn 40, 50, 60.
You won't be able to do that coffin drop like that when he's fucking 45.
It's your body. And we know.
Well, maybe he knows that. Maybe he knows he's going to have a short career, bro.
I mean, I have heard that he's always planned on getting into filmmaking and stuff like that after wrestling. But even if he is planning on having a short career, that does not change the fact that, we know from our own minor league wrestling experience on the local scenes around our parts that, it's when you're in your 20s, it's really easy to kind of spring back from the damage that you take when you take a bump, or say you're going to take, a couple of bumps during a match that are probably going to hurt, but you do it for the sake of the performance, and you take an awkward bump and it kind of jars your back a little bit or your ribs. It's easy to kind of, spring back from that in your early 20s. Then it gets a little bit harder in your mid 20s, and I'm speaking from experience. And then now that you're in your late 20s, the last time that I wrestled was around last year, and it starts to get incrementally harder by, each year. The older that you get, there is a difference to, how resilient your body is going to be between the ages of 24 and 29, believe it or not. And even if he only wrestles for 10 years, makes his money, and then goes off to do his passion projects, I don't want to see this guy hobbled over at age 50 having to use a walking frame. I sincerely mean that. I really think that if he took a few of these dangerous bumps off of the menu, saving them only for a once a year type thing, the biggest match of that year, he's going to bust out something like that.
Yeah, Undertaker did that big dive to the outside just at WrestleMania. Can do it every time. But yeah, bro, look, you make a good point. I was on that same show that you wrestled at in December as a special guest referee, and I hurt my knee just refereeing a match. So, and at that point, I was 33 at the time. I'm 34 now. But even I was like, Jesus Christ, it's just a referee spot, and fucking having a hard time keeping up. So, but to make that comparison is a little silly. It's not like I'm the supreme athlete right now, like I once was. And when I say that, I mean high school. High school captain of the fucking tennis team. I was in the football team. I was in the basketball team. I was, captain of the cross country team. Now, well, mate, I have a hard time getting out of the car when it's on a slight hill. Anyway, moving forward, bro. We were lucky with this episode that we had received to review this show, because we didn't get the version that goes picture in picture with the actual advert on the side and the match in a little square next to it. We had the version where they stayed with the action. The commentators were still there. So I wasn't getting mad about that this week. And for anyone else out there, I know that there's someone that makes comments on almost all of our reviews. Try and find this one, and it might be less offensive to you to have the one that doesn't actually. I guess that's the actual TNT airing, and I think maybe the one that we saw was the Fight TV version. So try and find the Fight TV version, bro, because you won't get so offended like we have been over the last few weeks when they keep cutting to these fucking commercial breaks during matches. So that was a massive relief on this show for me anyway. And another massive relief was when Excalibur was talking about Rhodes to the top, but because it was an advert, we didn't see it and they cut it off.
Thank God. Thank God.
But he said just before they were going to cut to it, AEW's wrestling royalty. Fuck off, cunt. Stop putting Cody and
Cody Rhodes will never be considered wrestling royalty. He will never be considered like on anyone's Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling.
He'll be considered a good hand in the ring.
Yeah, he'll be considered. This is Cody Rhodes. Like I'm gonna, people can disagree with me all they want. Cody Rhodes is a second generation son of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, who has had flashes of brilliance here and there. When all is said and done, his legacy as a wrestler will be that guy always went in there and gave it his all in the ring. He always gave you a good little match. You could always count on him for a good little match. That is the way that I see him. That's the way you see him. We're not the only ones, folks. He needs to actually start doing things that get him over in that universal way where everyone that's a wrestling fan, no matter what particular style or product you enjoy the most, agrees that this guy is something special. That's what separates the greats from the very goods. Cody Rhodes is a very good. I'm willing to change that appraisal going forward. So please don't bite my head off. His career's not over yet, but it's going to take a lot before I actually start to acknowledge him as being on the level as some of his most vociferous fanboys seem to already think that he's on.
Yeah, he's dying to be at least on Triple H's level, and that's just
like he wants to be like a John Cena or a Dwayne Johnson or something like that. It's not happening.
He's dying to be the Miz. He's dying to at least be the Miz, bro.
Yeah.
Anyway,
more like the Jizz.
Oh dear. For everyone out there, I wanted to let you all know that I had my second COVID shot yesterday, so I'm a little under the weather. So if I seem like I'm not really as sharp tonight, that's why. I'm fucking wrecked, bro. Thankfully, we're on the tail end here, bro. There's probably a reason why this match went last. It is a title match. Very good. AEW, if you were like, okay, the title match should always go last. It's the World Women's Championship. Okay, that's fine. Although we did say Kenny versus Bryan maybe should have main evented, but that's okay. This was really fucking good. And again, this is like a pay-per-view version of Dynamite. This isn't like your usual Dynamite. So I really fucking enjoyed this match. And Ruby Soho finally got to show what she can do. Because even you said during the match, dude, you're like, why did I never get to see this from her in WWE? Oh, I know why. It's because she was always stuck in fucking 6 women tag team matches that only lasted 2 minutes. Never given an angle that was of any note. Never given a chance to talk in that microphone. Just another body on the roster. Here we go. She gets put in this position to main event Dynamite for the Women's Championship against the best female performer in the wrestling business right now, Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D. I do it every time. I don't care how markish it comes across. I like it. So it's good to have a babyface challenger that the people are actually getting behind. Some of the crowd were going for Britt as well, though, but that's a given considering the respect that she appears to have universally across the industry. And I'm sure that there are women in the WWE right now being like, God damn, I really wish I could work with her. So great to see this, in comparison to, don't want to pick on her too much, but Red Velvet was certainly not ready for that position, whereas Ruby Soho has that momentum behind her where the fans are keen to see what takes place. So I loved the back and forth between these two. That Avalanche air raid crash that Excalibur called, that was hectic. But yeah, another very physical contest between these two. And finally, bro, Jamie Hayter finally shows her worth as the problem solver, as the insurance policy. This is what should have been taking place from the get-go. She should be that that swift change in the match, it changes the whole momentum because that's what she was hired for, not being the person that puts over the person that's going to lose to Britt. She needs to be seen as a threat. And she fucking showed that with her interference. Britt wins. Fantastic finish. Number one female in the industry. I can't, man, I would probably buy a Dr. Britt Baker t-shirt. I probably would. I think she's killing it right now, bro. So the floor is yours, Joosey Boy. How did you feel about our main event for the Women's World Championship?
Well, first of all, on the subject of Ruby Soho, always really liked her look, always liked the whole punk style. Always heard that she's a nice woman as well, like personally, that she's, seems to be like a well-liked person in the business that's got a reputation as being very friendly. And I respect that in a business where a lot of people choose to be assholes. So that's the first thing. I like the way that Ruby moves around in the ring. I like the way she takes bumps. I like the way that she eats strikes, That's the kind of performer I want to get behind. I'm going to be a big fan of hers going forward. This match was, also, in my opinion, cemented Britt Baker's position as being either the first or second best female performer in the entire industry. I said during the match that imagine a match between Britt Baker and Charlotte Flair. So yeah, this match was a really good match as well. It obviously, even though it had such a monumental task in front of it in terms of trying to follow the Bryan Danielson Omega match, it was really a very high quality match. It was one of my favorite women's matches I've seen this year, to be honest. It was good. Like I really, I got into it. I felt like the crowd was very respectful in terms of, staying energetic, staying pumped up for the ladies. It was good seeing both of them have this big moment. We've seen women main event WrestleMania. I wonder how long it's going to be until the women are main eventing an All Out, bro. And I am going to give this match an A-. Another A. It's like I have to be consistent with my standards. This was, a very good match once again. And I'm looking forward to seeing what both of these ladies are going to do going forward, coming out of this.
Yeah, excellent stuff, bro. So that brings us to the end of the show. We go off the air here. And it's time for us to give our rating out of 10. Joosey Boy, take it away.
I'm going to give this show a 9 out of 10. I'm going to give it quite a high rating. Some people think that I'm a little haphazard with my ratings, that I'm always too ready to give a high rating to something because, I like to be nice. That, I genuinely felt like there was a lot of A-grade material on this show. So it's earned its 9 out of 10 rating as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's cool, bro. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. That's just the number that's popped into my mind. It's just like when Dave Meltzer does his star ratings. I love the show. I wasn't offended by anything. This was different than the usual Dynamite, so I wasn't expecting all those angles that you see on a regular Dynamite taking place. This was a pay-per-view style show, so really enjoyed everything, despite the fact that a lot of the finishes of the matches were somewhat of a foregone conclusion, but you didn't know whether or not with Cody and Malakai what was going to happen there. But I was, I enjoyed it despite feeling a little bit under the weather today. Cool, bro. Before we go, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I just saw a news report that they are bringing in a secondary women's singles championship. I don't like the name, but I'm glad that they're doing it because I feel like in women's wrestling, a lot of the time there's just a world championship. There's no levels to go from, getting on the roster, winning this championship, defending it, losing it, winning it back. A few years down the line, finally you get your chance at that world championship. That is something that is missing when it comes to the journey of a women's wrestling character in the industry, is that they don't have levels to go to. That's why Bianca Belair just suddenly is the WWE Women's Champion, because there's no levels to go through. Same with Rhea Ripley. She's got another 10, 12 years left of her career, and she's already hit the pinnacle in the first couple of years she's in the company. things like that. So I think this is important, but they're going to probably call it the TBS Championship, and I just don't agree with that because the TNT Championship, okay, yes, it's on TNT, but it makes sense because the show's called Dynamite. Dynamite, TNT, it's in theme, TBS Championship. I just don't think that makes any sense. They should have probably come up with something else, because just call it a TV title. I don't know, bro. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I don't really mind. I think obviously, they're probably calling it the TBS title because it's obviously a related network. And look, I just would have specifically, if it's going to be a woman's mid-card title, I just would have specifically named it like the woman's middleweight championship or whatever. Like I would have given it a name that establishes it, distinguishes it as their title, like a title for their division. But do I have a problem with them bringing a new title in overall? Definitely not. It means that we're going to see more of the ladies have more of an opportunity to do some more stuff on the show.
Yeah, I'm just relieved, bro, because there was rumors for so long that it was going to be a 6-man tag title, and I was like, fuck, that would suck. I would hate to have to sit through all that. So I really hope that they don't bring that in. And you know what? I'll be honest with you, man. I'm not interested in women's tag team titles too. Look at how the WWE women's tag division is. No one in that division is a team that's been together for any length of time. AEW have like what? Ty Conti and Anna Jay. There's not enough established tag teams that have just always been a tag team for something like that to take place. So I just think no women's tag titles, no men's 6-man tag titles. A women's secondary title is awesome. So anyway, bro, that brings us to the end of the review. Once again, bro, please plug your shit.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, subscribe to me on YouTube. I am at Joosey Boy. That's JOOSEYBOY at Joosey Boy. And you can also follow along with the WZWA Network. You already are. And catch me on here as well.
Yep, excellent. And I'm again Karlifornia. That's on Twitter. Karlifornia WZWA, KARLIFORNIA WZWA. Find us on twitch.tv/WZWA Network. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of the shit, Twitter. You can find us everywhere. You're already here on YouTube. So thank you for taking the time with us here today. And thank you, Joosey Boy.
Thank you, Karlifornia. I hope you feel better very soon. And it's been a pleasure chopping up another episode of Dynamite here this evening.
Yeah, bro. I hope I feel better soon too, because in 3 hours I'm supposed to interview Jeff Jarrett. So we'll see what happens there.
Let's. That's so cool. You're going to interview like Double J Jeff Jarrett. I wonder how many times he's going to say the word candidly.
We'll see, bro. Hopefully I'm okay by in 3 hours time. But again, thanks, bro.
No worries.
And thank you all out there for watching our AEW Dynamite review here, the Grand Slam edition from Arthur Ashe Stadium. I'm Karlifornia alongside Joosey Boy, and we will see you down the road. Thank you. And we're clear.
All right. Sick, man.
Thanks, bro.
No worries, brother.
I'll talk to you in a bit.
All right, dude.